Joining us now to bring some levity to the big stories of the day is columnist at the Daily Telegraph, Tim Blair, and YouTuber extraordinaire, Daisy Cousins. Great to see you both. Now, let's talk about Pocahontas. This is Elizabeth Warren, the Democrat who was mocked by Donald Trump as Pocahontas because she claimed to be a Native American and it appeared that she wasn't. She's been mocked on Indigenous Peoples Day after a tweet, Daisy, in which someone told her maybe she was praising Indigenous Peoples Day, and someone said, well, maybe you should be sitting this one out. It's pretty funny stuff. Daisy.
You know what? One of my favourite moments of the Trump presidency was when he called out Elizabeth Warren for her Native American posturing and said, no, I don't believe it. You go do a test. She went, fine, all right, I'll do a test. And lo and behold, it came back after all her self-righteousness. And it turned out she was 1,024th Native American, which is a minuscule amount. But hence the fact she really sit this one out. I just think, Rowan, she has to be trolling. Sure, she would know the reaction she would get from a lot of the media and pundits for that kind of tweet. I think at this point she's trolling and trying to distract the public from what an absolutely horrendous job the Biden administration is doing. That is what I think.
Tim, you're a great satirist. Surely you went, hang on, she's done the satire for me. Where do I go with this one?
They make it simultaneously so easy, yet so very, very difficult. I love that when Elizabeth Warren went into that DNA test, and it sparked a great deal of investigation, belated investigation into her Indigenous past. One of them was that she'd enrolled in college and received, fee deductions because she was Indigenous. And the other was that back in the day, she'd contributed a recipe to a book of an Indigenous cookbook called Pow Wow Chow.
Imagine trying to get away with that. Yeah, exactly. Now, I want to ask you both briefly on Putin. We've been discussing earlier on the show the threat of nuclear war and so on, but this idea that Joe Biden could be the one to open peace negotiations, you're already chuckling, Tim, so tell us why.
Joe Biden can't negotiate a hallway without doors. I mean, why doesn't the US should send someone of more stature? I mean, this could end in. I mean, look at his record as president. Has he succeeded at any level domestically? Why do people think that having failed at everything, that he could succeed in dissuading Vladimir Putin from continuing his war or expanding it or escalating it to include other nations, other areas? I mean, send Lizzo. She's at least she's twice the person Joe Biden is, 3 or 4 times by some measures. It depends on how you look at it. But at least send someone. What's his bargaining chips? What on earth can Biden bargain with? He's got nothing.
Well, so long as he doesn't trot out that I've only got two words to use. Don't use your nukes. Daisy, what do you make of this?
Look, I just think Biden is the wrong person to be negotiating peace talks with, because I don't think he really wants peace. I mean, he's a Democrat. He was VP to Barack Obama, who dropped, more bombs than anyone. They've never given any indication that they want a peaceful world. They love the American military-industrial complex. So for Biden to go, you should be peaceful. No, I mean, the way his presidency is going, a good old World War III would probably do him the whole world of good, because he could exploit it to sort of manipulate people and frighten them into voting for them, much like the Democrats did with COVID. So, yeah, on one front, he'd be terrible to negotiate peace with, because, as Tim so rightly said, he cannot even negotiate a hallway or a stage, let alone peace. I don't think he'd really want peace. So, no, find someone else to negotiate peace with. Joe Biden is certainly not the right one.
Well, I think, Tim and Daisy, I had that image of that gigantic room that Vladimir Putin sits in with that massive table with Putin at one end and Joe at the other, wandering around looking for the way out or who to shake hands with or the toilet or whatever he's up to. Anyway, and Jill rushing in and ushering him along. Now, it's official. We now have a date for the coronation of King Charles III, which will be May 6th next year. Can't wait. The ceremony is going to be just over an hour in length, much shorter than the 4-hour extravaganza the Queen had, and certainly much shorter than the funeral for his mum. maybe they're worried that halfway through, maybe they're cutting him short just so he doesn't start blabbing on about climate change, Tim.
Perhaps, but of course, I mean, obviously times have changed. We don't have the attention span of previous generations. We're an immediate gratification sort of people these days. So anything that's going to drag on for more than an hour risks losing the public attention. Sadly, you'd actually want it to be probably a slightly more prolonged thing, given the stature of the event, the importance of it. But an hour, it's the T20 of coronations.
Daisy, I want to chat to you about this one. This is your area of expertise. I don't know why, but I somehow think that when it comes to matters of fashion, you might be slightly more qualified than the man sitting on your screen right there. But I'm just a lazy guess there.
Very sweet, Rowan.
The racing season, Daisy, is upon us, and there was an article in the Australian today about how the fashion scene is becoming more fluid. Wow. Apparently, ever since model Christian Wilkins wore a pleated skirt to Derby Day, it's become more common for the blokes to rock up in androgynous frocks. What do you make of it?
Look, honest to God, I don't have anything against men wearing dresses if they want to in fashion. I mean, if you take all the ideology about it, I mean, fashion has been moving towards a more androgynous sort of look. If you want to do that, fine. My problem is that a lot of blokes, they don't find a dress that fits them properly. I mean, all kudos to that model, but he doesn't look, no offense, he doesn't look great in that skirt. It's the wrong length, it's the wrong cut, he's got the wrong shoes, the hair wasn't done properly. I wasn't impressed, not because he was wearing a dress, but because it was the wrong dress. I'd say the same thing when Harry Styles appeared on the cover of a magazine and was feted for wearing this beautiful frock. I thought, what are you doing, Harry? It's the wrong cut. It's too up and down. It doesn't cinch your waist properly. So look, fellas, wear all the dresses you want to the races. Have a lovely time, but for God's sake, get the right one or you're just going to end up embarrassing yourself.
Well, Tim, you know how the climate activists are always telling us that unless we act now, we're all going to die, we're all doomed. Well, a group of protesters in London have blocked ambulances. This isn't the first time this has happened. They're blocking ambulances from even being able to leave their station. I think that's not really going to be very helpful for the extinction, or it will hasten the extinction of those patients that they can't get to. Why is it that climate activists, Tim, seem so completely callous or disinterested in real life, or real people's lives, while they faff on about lives that might be lost in 100 years' time?
It's actually kind of a helpful service they provide. One, as traffic calming devices, potentially, in a city, London, and other cities around the world. They can be very useful in briefly slowing industrial traffic. Also, they crystallise in the public mind the fact that there's far greater disruption to society from these protests than we've ever seen from climate change. Climate change has never delayed an ambulance in history. It hasn't claimed any lives. To this day, we don't have a single life where the death certificate actually says climate change killed, Joe. But we've got cases now where people are being delayed in urgent treatment. A pregnant woman apparently was delayed in an ambulance at one point during those London protests. Probably the majority of injuries will come from citizens intervening, as they've begun to do in the UK. And there's a lovely viral clip that I watch whenever I'm feeling a little down. It just shows these burly Brits just throwing various swampies left and right, and then traffic proceeds beautifully. It's a wonderful bit of footage, and I commend it to Sky's viewers.
We'll have to put that on. Thank you both so much. I was just going to say, Tim, that soon it will be. You need to clarify: did they die with climate change or of climate change? That's where we'll be going. Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Tim and Daisy.